Hello everyone and welcome to this week's behind the scenes devlog video, and this week I've got some plans to add a new GUI into Equilinox, and I'm also probably going to be making quite a few new models. So the first couple of days of this week were a little bit uneventful. I didn't film anything because there wasn't a whole load to show you. I was mainly just working on updating the base movement code. I also had quite a few things to tidy up before this month's Patreon release. As well as that, I also did some more work on the language sheet, just adding a lot more text into that. And finally, I also made some moves towards having the world as a giant floating island, and it's halfway there at the moment. It's a giant floating cube. So first up today, I'm actually going to redo the sheep model, because the sheep was one of the first animals I added into the game, and the style of the models has changed a little bit since then. So I'm just going to update the model so that it doesn't look so out of place. Finished off making the new models for the sheep now, and I've just added them into the game, and I've also just been doing a bit of work on the sheep's movement and just finishing off any loose ends to do with that. Just finished making another model, which is the adult version for the mango tree, and next up today I'm going to get back to programming and I'm going to do a bit of work on the GUIs. Just having a bit of lunch now, and for the rest of the morning I just made a couple of little improvements to the UI. So firstly, you can now right click on notifications to dismiss them. Also, I made sure that the years and the days now start from 1 in the time display at the bottom, and I'm also going to be moving this button, this increase time speed button, down. I'm going to move it here so that it's next to the time, so I've just been preparing for that. And I've also now displayed the version that you're playing in the bottom left corner. "2 now, getting back to work after lunch, and I've just made this model for a new tree, and I've also just finished moving the speed up time button down from the toolbar, which obviously leaves a space in the toolbar, which I'm going to fill with something new in a minute. Just before I get started with working on that new UI, I wanted to quickly create a couple of new plant models for Equilinox, and to get started I've made this new flower model, and you can see a few of them growing in the world here. So the extra place in the toolbar is going to be taken up by the checklist tab, and this is actually going to be the final big UI that I have to add into the game, and it's basically going to show you your overall progress through the game. So it's going to have a big progress bar at the top, and it's also going to have a checklist of everything that you can unlock in the game, all the tasks, all the items, all the species, and it will show you which ones you've unlocked and which ones you've still got to unlock. At the moment, it just works like all the other tabs, as you can see, and I've just created a very quick temporary icon for it. So I'm going to be working on this over the next few days, but for now I'm going to have a quick break. I'm going to do some cooking, and I'm going to try and make some focaccia bread for the first time. So while I wait for the bread dough to rise, I've been working on ticking off a few more of the movements off the to-do list. So I've been working on the movement for the squirrels, just tidying that up. Also, I finished off the movement for the guinea pigs. And finally, over here, I finished off the movement for these waddling ducks. Next up this afternoon, I just quickly made the young versions for this new tree, and I've added some into the game here, as you can see. And now I'm going to stop for a bit, I'm going to go for a run, then I'm going to have some dinner, and then I'll get back to work later this evening. To end the day today, I've just been doing a bit of work in GIMP trying to design what the new UI is going to look like, and I've tried out a few different things, but I think that this design here is one that I'm pretty satisfied with, so I'm going to be implementing this into the game tomorrow. So getting started today with implementing this checklist UI, and as you can see, the first thing I've done is to add in the progress bar. "20 now, and next up I've just implemented the headers, which go on the left here, and you're going to be able to select these, and at the moment you can see that I've just added a mouse over effect to them. So the next thing that I have to work on today is a scrollable panel, which is something that I've never actually added to any of the UIs in Equilinox. So I have to create this from scratch. And as you can see, I've started doing that, and I'm able to scroll these values up and down in this panel. But obviously they need to get cut off at the top and the bottom, and I also need to add in a scroll bar on the right. But this is a good start. Stopping for a bit of lunch now, but I've been making some good progress on the scroll panel. So you can see that the panel now has this bar on the right and the little bar at the top, which you grab onto to scroll down. You can see that at the moment it changes colour when you mouse over it, and also when you click on it to grab it. Can't move it around at the moment, but obviously that's the next thing I'll work on. And also the size of the little bar at the top is calculated depending on how far down you can scroll, so basically how big the panel actually is. 2:30 now, and I've been making some more progress on the scroll bar. So you can see that you can now grab the scroll bar and move it around, and that scrolls the contents in the panel. There are, however, a few issues with this. Firstly, it doesn't matter where on the scroll bar you click, it automatically jumps to just underneath the mouse cursor, which obviously isn't desirable. Also, I want to be able to click anywhere along this bar and it should automatically jump to that position. And I should also be able to scroll with the mouse wheel. So still a few things to work on with this. So I have now got the scroll bar pretty much completely working, so you can grab onto it and move it, you can click somewhere and it will move there automatically, and you can scroll with the mouse wheel. So that's all working. Next up I'm going to work on actually displaying data in this panel. 5 o'clock, and I've just finished getting the data to be displayed in the way that I want it to be, with these icons indicating whether the thing is done or not. So that's all good. And next up I need to work on getting these tabs on the left here to actually do something. So nearly all working now. As you can see, I've got the tabs working, so clicking on a tab changes the information that's displayed. And you can see that the scroll bar changes size depending on how many elements are in the list that it needs to display. So that's all working as it should be. Also, I've got the cutting off to work with the icons, so you can see that the icons don't extend above or below the panel, but unfortunately I haven't got that working with the text yet, so obviously that's something else that I have to do. Other than that though, it's pretty much finished. I do need to get it to display some actual meaningful information rather than just all this test data, but apart from that, it's pretty much done. Friday morning, just getting back to work on the checklist UI, and the first thing I've done today is to get the cutting off working with the text using OpenGL scissor test, and now I just need to get this to actually display the data about the game, about everything that you've unlocked. It is 9:30 and I have now got these checklists displaying actual information about the game, so you can see all the tasks here, all the music tracks, all the bonus items and all the species, and this shows you everything that you've unlocked and everything that you haven't unlocked, so you can very quickly get an overview of how far through the game you are. And the final thing that I've got to do with this is to get the progress bar at the top actually displaying your progress through the game, because at the moment it's just hard coded to display 40 when obviously it needs to actually calculate your progress. So I have now completely finished implementing the checklist UI into the game, and the progress bar now updates as it should as you progress through the game. And I've also just added one more extra tab of information, which is the species upgrades. So you can see all of the available upgrades for the species here, and you can also see which ones you've got and which ones you haven't. So that is the checklist UI finished. I just thought it would be a nice little addition to the game, a nice way to see an overview of your progress, and for anyone who likes to tick things off to-do lists, I think you'll find it quite satisfying. I'll probably come back and have a look at the design at this another time, tweak some of the colours and stuff just to make sure it fits with the style of the rest of the UIs in the game. But in terms of the functionality, this is now 100% finished. So today I've been doing a bit more modelling, trying to get a few more of those models ticked off the to-do list, and the first model I've made is this new snowy tree, which is going to go in the mountain biome. And I'm going to make a few more models in a bit, but first I actually need to go and do my weekly food shopping. Next up today, I've just been redoing the Fox model because the previous model was a little bit primitive. It was one of the first models I made for Equilinox, so I thought I'd make a better one now, which I have now done, and I've also just added it into the game. But now, I'm just going to take a quick break, and I'm going to try and bake some bread. So for the rest of the afternoon today, I'm just going to be doing some editing for this week's video because I've got some other stuff going on at the weekend, so I need to get a head start with that. Before I finish though, I just wanted to mention the tutorials quickly. You might have noticed that I finished off the animation tutorial series recently, so I was wondering what other topics you guys would like to see tutorials on next. I know a lot of people have already suggested collision detection, but that's unfortunately not really a topic that I'm very experienced with myself, so I'd need to spend some more time learning about it before I can make a tutorial on it. I do want to cover it at some point in the future, but until then, let me know of any suggestions of other topics that you'd like to see tutorials on. Also, I just need to give a big shout out to the top Patreon supporters from last month, who were NASA, Blue Nova, Danny D, Timothy Gibbons, Crazy Rusky, Jeffrey, Galithal Fenor, Benjamin Fuller and Alexander Chavez. So as always, a huge thank you to you guys for your generosity. And thank you to all of you for watching this video. Do subscribe if you haven't already. Have a fantastic week, and I will see you all next time.